gotta go. Yeah, I'll call you back. I'm with that realtor lady.
Welcome to The Realtor Lady. I'm Michele Replogle. I have asked two favorite colleagues of mine that I used to work with at Bailey Properties, Bill McCown and Kurt Abramson. They have lots of wisdom to share today. We don't really have much of an outline. We're just going to talk about changes in the industry, kind of goof off a little bit, and what we're seeing out there. I have been seeing a lot of houses that have the same problems, wondering if they're seeing them. And then, yeah, if we get bored, we'll just make fun of each other like we have in the past. So there we are.
Okay.
Bill and Kurt, take it away. Bill, what are you seeing out there? What do you think's going on? Things are pretty crazy right now.
Kurt.
Bill.
She asked you, Bill.
Well, I thought you said Kurt.
Old guys rule, but they don't hear well.
Okay. What do I see out there? I see a crazy market. And after you set this up, Michele, I was kind of thinking about this. Back in the day, when things were normal, if you want to call it normal, two agents would battle it out back and forth. There was some bumps and bruises on a home. There was some termites, a deck needed to be fixed, maybe a roof, maybe a credit, maybe the seller would fix it, maybe not. And then you negotiate that out. You had a 30-day escrow, a 2 to 3 week contingency period to hash out some things, and that's all changed. Now it's a short fuse. You got to take the termites, the rotten fence, the crappy roof, everything else.
Yeah.
Close quickly, give them free rent, pay them cash, and do whatever the seller wants. And there's 5, 6, 10 people behind you, and you got to pay $25,000 to $200,000 over the list price. Now, with all that being said, that's a tough sell to a first-time home buyer.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, find me a house. Okay, well, let's sit down and talk about this.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Where's your money coming from? Oh, by the way, don't be ashamed or discouraged if you're going to get shot down, because you will get shot down. We'll go through this 2 or 3 times, and then you'll really figure it out, or you'll just give up.
I actually told a few buyers that they could probably count on a little bit of buyer fatigue later on in the season, and that might be their opportunity. Because I've seen this before, where we've had that hot spring, and then by May it kind of quiets down a little bit when people actually leave the market. But the other thing is, we don't have anybody doing anything else. They need to go on vacation. They need to go to family's house and fly other places and be distracted. Right now, I think everybody's just home on.
Well, COVID.
Yeah. So they're just micro-focused.
Well, the thing that's changed too is that people have been freed up so much from, the old constraints of I need to live close to work or, any number of things. And so, that's what's certainly happening in Santa Cruz is we've become the spot of choice. It's the same thing in Tahoe, where everybody is buying. The worm is going to turn. And, we see the same thing at the beach as you'll see up in Tahoe, where once people own a property for a couple of years, they start going, I don't like it here that much. After all, it's too cold, there's too much snow, whatever it is, there's a reason that people will make a change. But right now, it's extremely difficult to compete with all those folks who don't have the constraints that we're used to.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to, it's my own personal angst about saying you're going to have to make an as-is offer, knowing I've read that home inspection. Great. You disclose what's going on with it. But to actually have to say, and you got to eat this, it's just like we woke up this year and the whole market was just crazy.
Yeah, it's going at rapid speed. That's the thing that's scary and interesting. Excuse me.
I do think as we get a little farther into the season, it's going to level out a little bit just because there's no inventory right now. So,
I agree with Kurt.
you know, everything that comes onto the market gets snapped up. I don't know if you saw Byron closed
Yep.
something in Los Barrancos yesterday.
Yep.
What the asking was, what, 1.3, and the closing was 1.9.
Yep. That's crazy.
And I believe Byron represented both parties.
I did see that. I could just see his big grin too.
Yeah.
I heard that there were a couple of upset agents on that one.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
That happened on Hall Street though, over in Seawright too. It was listed at 1.395, and they told us if we wanted to compete, we'd have to come in at 1.9.
The Hall Street. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were blown away by the offer that they got.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I don't think so.
Well, I think Kurt's correct. I think it'll ease up, hopefully, when society gets more confidence about getting out and about.
Right.
You know, I think there's a lot of folks out there that want to sell their homes, but ooh, do I want people tromping through my home and ooh, COVID-19 and filling all this stuff up and wiping everything down and signs and forms and da-da-da-da. You know, the average Joe, us three, we can handle it, but the average home seller, I don't need to sell that bad. That's kind of scary. So I think once they get through that, get their vaccination and feel confident and so forth, they may start stepping up to the plate, and we'll hopefully see more inventory. And also, this is kind of a wild card. I don't know quite how to read this one. Prop 19.
That's right.
Will we see some goodness out of Prop 19? When I say goodness, more inventory.
Will we? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
people don't like people going through their houses anyway, so that's a strike against it right there. And then you add COVID in. You're going to take those people who really don't want people in their house while they're living there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who's all, you know, they want you in a hazmat suit on a regular day anyway.
Well, the good news is it doesn't take 3 months anymore.
Yeah, it takes 3 days.
It basically takes, you know, a weekend, and boom, you're done.
Yeah, I sold Escalona last year during COVID in 2 days.
Yeah.
Buyers had 2 other opportunities to see the property, and then after that, the sellers were like, they can look in the windows.
I sold my little condo in Seascape in 1 day.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's the only window we had to actually view it. I just, put on remarks. Hey, everybody, you can see it Saturday, 10 to 3, and that's it. And it got shown, and we had an offer by the end of the day. But, normal, what's normal? I don't know.
Yeah.
I would like to see this Prop 19 thing get some legs on it and people moving around. And that's what the name of the game is to get the dough moving through the system and buying up, down, moving towards you with your kids or close by, grandkids, downsizing, whatever, upsizing. That's what I think Prop 19 is really all about. But the proof will be in the pudding when it comes in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months.
Well, there's a lot of backlash though. I mean, okay, so the idea of Prop 19 is basically you can move anywhere in the state and take your tax base with you. That's just a very general version of it. But then there's that rub of people who have properties and they want their kids to get that tax base, but those kids are going to actually have to live there. So that's a lot of the backlash on it.
Yeah, there's good parts and bad parts to it, but it's not so bad. I don't think. That's easy for me to say.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I could be wrong. My son lives in our rental. I mean, I just thought that we would just adjust, and that would become his property. He lives there. I mean, I don't know. Having a bunch of properties and keeping a tax base so your kids can enjoy low taxes while they get rent income. I don't know about that. But
well, that's not going to happen. I mean, if it's income property, the taxes are going to go up once they inherit it.
Exactly.
Or buy it from you or whatever. Yeah, that's an interesting 119. Anyway, what else, Michelle?
What else? You guys miss Broker Tour?
I do. That was our thing.
Yeah.
The three amigos, Kurt, Bill, and Pete, man, we would kick ass on the whole town and see all our buds and eat food all day. It was great.
I think I think I think this herd inventory really truly for buyers and probably sellers is that we're not networking as much.
Oh gosh, yes, I totally agree.
And every once in a while we have properties that the sellers would be just as happy to sell off market or sell in a very quick window, lot listing to somebody that you know and trust. This agent I recommend, I know they'll bring a good buyer, that kind of stuff. We're losing those opportunities. And then we're always losing the opportunity to talk about listings that we have coming up as well. But the broker tour meeting on our board, we're not, because of clear cooperation, we really can't talk about new listings much anymore because they have to be going on the market within the next day. Otherwise, you can't talk about it.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of industry stuff that actually cut us off at the knees in terms of how we move around the community and sell real estate to each other. And I'm just seeing
the one that I really miss, and this is just a personal thing, open houses. I loved open houses. They were great.
Talking about that. Wow.
I mean, for me, it was, I got a ton of business over the years at open houses. I mean, good stuff. People walk in the front door, you click with them, bing, bang, boom. Next thing you know, you're selling them a house or you're listing their house. That part I really miss a lot. Some people go, oh, open houses, oh my God, I take my whole Saturday. I loved it. I really liked it. That part of it.
Bill, I said the same thing. I love doing open houses, but I'm not missing them.
Yeah.
Because I'm just at a stage where I just find better use for that time.
Yeah, I hear you, Kurt. I mean, we're all changing our ways with the whole change, which is good, but it's going so fast. Man, it's going fast. I guess I'm an old guy. Okay, I'll admit it again.
So Kurt mentioned he's working with past clients, and I imagine you do too. Where are you getting your new business then if you don't have open houses? Where are you getting clients?
My A-list, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
Old clients, past clients. Oh, by the way, Bill, you were recommended, blah, blah, blah. Right. That's my whole world's referral.
Yeah, that's what's happening with me now is that I'm working pretty much all with referrals. A couple of leads that have come in, but referrals from past clients, referrals from neighbors, referrals from friends.
Right. Well,
the other interesting one that I'm seeing, Michelle, and I'm sure you guys have too, are these brokerage outfits that even advertise on TV. They claim to be number one top outfits, and they're doing it for 3.5%, keeping 1% and giving away 2.5%. Mm. It's like back in what year would it have been when Help You Sell came along?
Uh-huh.
We're seeing more and more of those all the time. There's some big shots over in the Bay Area that do it for 3.5%. Their volume is huge. They're keeping 1%, but they're selling $2, $3, $4, $5 million homes. Well, you do a dozen of those at 1%. That ain't too bad. It's a lot of work, but that's right. What they're advertising. And we haven't seen that for a while, but we see it now more in the current climate.
Any time it's a strong seller's market, that's going to get easier.
Yeah. So anyway.
They just can't write, so you guys have been doing it longer. I'm going in my 17th year, and I notice every single year, I do a pretty good book of business, pretty steady pace of business. It just always just rolls along, grows a bit each year. I kind of just go like this, But there's always this person that comes through one company and then a couple agents, and they come through this and they just kind of bulldoze everybody. And then they kind of disappear. I watch it happen every year. There's just that one agent that gets a ton of business, And then the next year, I don't see him anymore. It's just, this town is kind of weird like that. There's always you.
Yeah, I think that's just burnout.
And then you just have this one person that just the one person gets a year. Like, I don't know. That's what I know.
Well, to keep the flow up like that, it's expensive. You know, you've got to spend a ton of dough.
Right. Well, and it takes the time to get the momentum going, but you know, like people's lives change too. I mean, I think back to, you know, the hot shot of the year, going back 1 or 3 or, you know, whatever number of years. And, you know, some of them are out of the business. Some of them are home raising babies, or they're in a different business now. So, you know, this is a very demanding business, and people get excited about the money potential, but they don't realize, it takes a ton of work. It takes a ton of leg time and logistics and all that. And unless you've got the funding to keep it going, it can be really tough.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we are, the three of us, we're in a little different. We're in a better situation because we can ride things out and charge things up as we wish to do or not wish to do. Alice and I were talking about this the other night. We're all seeing this. Just think of some of these younger agents, male or female, that have kids that are in grammar school or high school for that matter, but they're not in school. They're home.
Yeah.
Their hands are so full. Oh, and then I have a business to run. Good luck doing that. I mean, they're just fried. I talked to a couple, they're just fried.
Well, the other thing that got added in since I started, technology got thrown at us. So now it's the internet.
Oh, you mean like contacting Zoom?
Before you just had to get good at identifying where that number 3A was on the termite report. You know, you didn't have to do a Facebook ad or I it is being online, but it's also very time consuming. Luckily, we had a lag last year and I had some time to actually learn it, but it was frustrating. And I was frankly pissed. I'd rather be selling real estate and talking to people than sitting in front of a computer.
Yeah. I hear the technology part's always a challenge, you know.
But if you notice these agents that are just like, oh, they're heavy hitters and all that, and they're really good with technology, that's not actually true. There's 3 of them. There's a ghost there somewhere doing that stuff for them with all these guys. So they see hot shots. It's because they got a tech person behind them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know a handful of agents that have that, and they're more than happy to pay them what they're worth.
Yeah, the people who try to go it alone, they end up, you know, stuck between a rock and a hard place. I mean, our job is to, you know the people and know the properties and let somebody else do the tech.
Yeah.
If you feel it's necessary.
Yeah. The other thing too with the market moving so fast is having to read the reports so quickly and gather a bunch of information about a property before an offer is due. That kind of pace is
pretty risky.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I know that Robert hates it, but oh well, welcome to the new market.
What does Paul have to say about the market? He doesn't come to the broker tour meetings because I guess he won't do the Zoom. So we don't get to hear his weekly market opinion.
Yeah, I haven't seen him for a while.
Is he on camera?
Well,
Be a Zoom interview.
Paul says the same thing he's always said about the market.
You're right, Kurt. People die and people have babies and people move on and people downsize and da-da-da-da. Oh gosh.
Cool. Yeah, I don't even know if meetings will be that big. Are we all going to even meet in person anymore? I don't know. I hope that hasn't gone away.
Oh, ever?
Yeah.
Yeah, we will, but probably not when Bill and I are still doing real estate.
Yeah, well, that's a good topic. Remember the day when you'd get an offer and the agent insisted on presenting it to your seller, you know?
Mhm.
Some sellers will go, oh, I don't know. I don't do that kind of stuff. And some, oh yeah, okay, fine. They just kind of, and I tell them, okay, just sit there, nod your head, don't say anything, just take it all in. And, some agents are very good at it. They're very persuasive and, have a good rap and a good story. And, then they fill in all the blanks. We don't do that anymore. You just shoot
Mhm.
emails back and forth, bang, bang, boom. That's gone, man. That's so gone. Wow.
I presented an offer to a seller because that was the thing. That was what you did. This was years ago. And
Yeah.
whoa. And you could literally watch his anger rise from the top of his chin to his forehead. He not happy. And and that was just what you did. And my client was insistent that well, I'm glad he didn't get the house. Actually, I didn't like the location, so it kind of worked out in my opinion. But I don't want to present to other people's clients. You never know what you're going to say, what kind of relationship
Right.
on their toes. And I had a buyer call this week. She wanted to know all about the property, and I said, "Do you have an agent?" She said, "Yeah, I'm just waiting for him to call me back." And I said, "Great, have him call me." Click. It was just I don't want that minutia. I like that. Just you stay over there. I'll stay over here. I don't want to be in other people's business.
Well, the thing that's developed that I think is interesting now is offer letters have become a negative. That I had a client. I wrote an offer last week. Didn't get the property, but the client wanted to write an offer letter, and back in the day, I was always telling them to, and I had to go, okay, because there's this issue now of whether an offer letter gives an unfair advantage, or it in some way, shape, or form becomes a fair housing issue by virtue of the picture, or the person's last name, or whatever it might be.
Ooh, I never thought of that.
Well, it's coming up. Some brokerages down in Monterey County are saying the seller has requested no offer letters.
I've seen that in private remarks. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought about the reason until you just brought it up.
It used to be we weren't allowed to have a picture, which you can understand the picture idea, right?
Yeah.
But then I had a couple letters where the buyers wrote them and they really went on and on and on. And I went, oh, this is going to hurt them. So what I started doing was just cutting down where they liked the house. And I would just excerpt that and put it in my offer letter to give them an idea of why the buyer was interested in their home. But more personal information. And I did. I presented, I had 11 offers on a short sale property in San Jose, I think in 2013. And one of the offers, he drew a picture of himself and his girlfriend, and it clearly indicated things about them that she didn't like, and she didn't look at their offer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I'll never forget that. And when it all came up that we weren't allowed to have letters anymore, I was like, oh, I remember that kitchen table.
Yeah.
And the other ones, she was checking the last names and.
Okay, I'm confused. Are we allowed to have letters or not?
Not really. Check the page of the fair housing disclosure. It's like 3/4 of the page down, and read that paragraph, and it basically says you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, it's discouraged.
Okay.
I talked to Robert about it, and he said, we're still evaluating it, and they haven't given us any direction. So, but if you look at the legal Q&A or on the CAR website, it says it's discouraged. The seller has to make the decision because the seller is the controlling entity here.
Yeah.
But they suggest that you recommend to the seller that they not accept offers.
Offer letters.
Offer letters, excuse me.
Okay. So, okay. Well, that's a good idea, actually. Just saying to the seller, you may get offer letters, but I still don't want pictures, and I tell people no pictures.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that takes or gives much information. But they don't even have any time. Like, so when we used to have broker tour, you would go and you would talk to that agent and you would tell them, hey, I got a buyer coming through. And then on that open house, you had a chance to meet that buyer, and you could give the seller a bit of a profile of that person too. And then that's an idea of who's buying their home, who's going to be the new neighbor. And, I kind of liked that process. And when I got to meet the client, I always felt a little bit more comfortable, especially if they wrote a pretty crappy offer. I mean, it didn't hurt them if I got to meet them. Or if their agent was kind of batting for them up front, some of that interface. So now the letter is kind of the only place you get to find out about how the agent is going to proceed on their offer. That's how I put my own offer letter in. And then the buyer gives an idea of who they are. I mean, really, the seller doesn't have a whole lot to go on. Is how's this going to go?
Right. Well, in an open house where the buyer comes through, I mean, it's one thing when you put together an offer letter, and it's like writing a resume. And I've looked at lots of great resumes over the course of my career and hired people that turned out to be a train wreck. So, it's the same thing when somebody comes into an open house. The offer letter may have been great, but they walk in and you just get a real sense that this person's going to be a challenge.
Yeah. And you do need to warn your seller because you've been told.
Or the agent that's bringing the offer is a challenge.
Yeah.
And we all have our little favorite list. And boy, if you see that person's name, it's like, ay.
I don't know what you're talking about, Bill.
No names.
I don't know. I've become more fond of everybody over the years. I think the newer agents for me are harder just because I don't know their style. Sometimes they're a little forward, and I'm used to us having a little bit more of a customary dance. And
yeah, that's true.
They're just, cut to the chase, and this is what we're doing. And I'm like, whoa, no romancing here. We're just getting right into it. Where when we talk, people that have known each other for a while, we kind of catch up a little bit, kind of get a sense of what's going on, and then, kind of start getting into negotiating. So it's just a different style. I get it, but that's kind of where my rub is. But see, I sound like an old guy here.
Yeah. I'll trade you in a second. So, Michele, in your podcast here, what else are you trying to accomplish from the wisdom of Kurt and I?
So, wisdom from you and Kurt? No. Here's what I'm trying to do, and this is the overall goal of the podcast, is to humanize realtors. We get bad raps. We got one that flew to, running out of time. What does this mean?
Oh,
Really?
shoot, that's only a possibility.
Okay,
If it happens, we'll stop this one
and we'll start again.
and we'll start again. Yeah, sorry, that happens more than 2 people.
Okay, so what do I do? Press the little red button?
If you want to, I don't know how much longer you want to go, but if you want to keep going, we'll close it out.
Okay.
Keep talking or whatever. And when it gets to, keep an eye on his. And if it's like a minute or two, just be like, hey, we're going to stop in the meeting, and then have everybody join in like a minute or two after.
Okay.
Sorry, I know it's a huge pain, but it costs like $500 a month to get
Oh
up.
God, no.
Yeah, right.
So the whole goal of the podcast is to, again, make realtors the professionals that we are, kind of bring that out. I feel like we get kind of villainized. Like I said, the agent that flew to the Capitol. That didn't help us. It did not help us, because there's always that one out there. There was one recently in San Diego making racist comments, and he got fired right away. But that stuff makes news. Bad behaving realtors makes news. And it's just kind of my passion to bring out all the people that do a really good job in this industry, or have a lot of compassion for their colleagues and their community, and care about people, because there's a lot of us that do. I have this little patchwork of all these realtors that, I just love and sometimes when people say bad things about another one, I get a little offended because I'm like, I like that person. You might have a tiff with them, but they're part of my whole little community that I love and want to support. That's the overarching goal. But the other one is just to have conversations like we were really talking about this offer letter. And that's a really good example of a buyer who tunes in, or maybe even a seller, for them to get a real good perspective on what that means on the other side of the fence. Because we have this little world that we are in, and the consumers just kind of come through it and out the other side, but they don't see all the stuff that we see. And I think that helps give them perspective. So if the seller says, I want to see letters, well, they've listened today, they know they can say, I want to see letters. And then it doesn't matter what rule or what cultivator anybody says. If they want a letter, they're going to get a letter. And if a buyer wants to write one, now they know maybe why they can't or why it may not be shown.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm trying to do. And talking to brokers, I had Pam Samuelson on talking about De Anza and the De Anza Park, because that's the mobile home park there of Delaware.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You look puzzled, but I know you took a lot of calls for that on floor calls on Bailey.
Right.
We all did. That whole, how does that park work? Just kind of the whole behind the scenes of what it's like to be an agent in there and dealing with the management in there. She likes it. She gave a really good perspective on that. That's the goal.
Michele, I think one thing that people don't realize, consumers, until they are in the trenches with us, how many professions do you know that you can name that give away everything free? What I mean by that is a buyer or a seller calls you up and we all spill our guts on the information that we know about our industry because you're trying to grab that client. An attorney, I'm $300 an hour. Doctors, CPAs, this. They don't give any information or a very little bit until the clock starts ticking. But realtors, what do you need? And we know, and what they need, we know everything about. I mean, we can practically fix a broken arm and do dental work, but also sell your home because we know somebody that knows somebody. Our wealth of peoples in our industry to fix, repair, counsel, advise, and so on. Realtors have their people in their little bag of tools, and we're so willing to give it away. And I think once people grasp that, they go, oh, you know what? This guy is worth 2.5%, or whatever, I think a lot of consumers at the beginning go, God, you guys make so much darn money. It seems so easy. It sells in a couple of days. You just do some paperwork and blah, blah, blah. You get a commission check. Well, it ain't really like that until they get in the trenches. So I think we are one industry where we just give it all away right on day one. Oh, well, that's the way it goes.
I don't give away so much anymore, and I don't give referrals to the people who work with me unless they've signed. You have to sign somewhere.
Well,
my Rolodex anymore. So.
But I mean, if somebody called you and said, "Oh, Michele, I got a problem with a water heater. Do you know a plumber?" Of course, you're going to tell them a plumber. You're going to tell them it's the person you know, or a roofer, or tell me about this Prop 19 thing. Well, you should talk to so and so, the CPA. Blah blah blah. That's what I mean by that kind of thing.
You can listen off a few. I might have them call you.
There you go.
Hey, funny stories. How many minutes we got? I need funny stories. Come on, Billy. You always have a good one.
Funny story. Well, never judge a book by its cover. What I mean by that is somebody that walks in the door, floor time, which we don't do anymore, open houses, whatever. We all kind of size somebody up, and I gave that up a long time ago. I go, you're not going to figure these people out. They could have all the money in the world, or they could be BSing you, and you get both kinds. But you got to be careful when you start sizing people up. I'm not coming up with a story for you, but over the years coming across clients that are just wonderful people, just wonderful, wonderful people. And, you know, you speak of networking, which I have to admit I'm not very good at. I just get lazy. And all of a sudden, 15 years later, the phone rings or you get an email and it's this old client. You go, wow, thanks for calling, man. I appreciate it. Oh, we talk about you all the time, Bill, blah, blah, blah. And away you go on the next transaction. And you thought you'd never hear from them. And that's what makes it worthwhile. That's what makes it worthwhile when it comes back to you like that. So go, Kurt. Tell us the drunkard story.
Okay. So back in the days of the Great Recession, when properties were going into foreclosure on a regular basis, I was working with an investor that would buy properties on the courthouse steps. They bought a condo in Live Oak, and the occupant was the owner, who was a raging alcoholic, blind drunk by noon every day. I'd go over and try to explain to him that he had to get out of the house, and he didn't even comprehend. He had a roommate who was a kind of a gangbanger guy that I think was probably a meth addict. And so, you know, we're trying to get it done, and the owner's just totally resistant and clueless. Then I get a call one day from the gangbanger roommate. He says, oh, so-and-so died last night. I came home and found him dead. And, you know, my thought was, well, I guess it'll be a little easier to get the place vacated now. And we ended up negotiating. There's something called cash for keys that you both know about. We negotiated a cash for keys agreement with the gangbanger. And so we got a number, we got, you know, the form. He's ready to move out and hand me the keys. And I say, you know, I've got a check for you here. And he says, oh, I can't take a check. I don't have a bank account. So I don't remember what the amount was. It was $1,000, $1,500, something like that. So I'm, you know, trying to get him out. So I said, all right, I tell you what, I'll go to the bank and get out my cash.
Robert Bailey, close your ears.
Where should I meet you? And he wants to meet at the McDonald's on 41st Avenue. And, you know, so I go over to B of A and pull out my cash, and I meet him. And so I'm standing in front of the McDonald's, handing this guy cash in an envelope, you know, and he's got tats all over and droopy pants and a flannel shirt. And I'm thinking to myself, there's a cop in the parking lot filming this whole thing. I am going down for sure. But it didn't happen. We got him out, sold it in 3 days.
Oh my God. Wow. Wow.
We don't see too many of those cash for keys agreements anymore.
Oh, please don't bring back those days. That was awful.
No, I just did one last November. We just did one. Yeah, they're still out there. It was.
Yeah. That's scary.
Somebody.
Well, it could. You know what? With all this COVID bullshit, it could happen again.
Yeah.
Economics.
I mean, I know it's happening in other parts of the country. I know in the Midwest and the Rust Belt, there's a lot of foreclosures.
Yeah. Wow.
In process.
I did go on a listing appointment a couple weeks ago. I wasn't really good at picking up on the signals until I got home or the next day. They really couldn't afford the property anymore. They had equity, but they needed to sell. They didn't have any money left.
Oh.
It's been a while. I kind of lost my radar on that, you know, but I realized later, I was like, oh, they're selling because they don't have any money, you know, and that's what money is. It wasn't their first time.
I think there's going to be some fallout from all this COVID stuff that we have not even figured out yet.
Sure.
Man, oh man.
I think you're going to see it with older people, particularly because, you know, they're part of the
How old?
Well, there is,
How old, man?
What are you trying to tell
Put a
us?
number on it.
50 or older.
Oh,
People are not as employable. You know, when unemployment rises, older people are the ones that lose it first.
yeah.
And I think we're going to see a lot of that. And you're going to see people with equity and who are saying, okay, Proposition 19 will do me some good. I can go, you know, if you can go elsewhere in California and find something affordable. A lot of the people, a lot of older people that I've talked to that are leaving because of costs are leaving the state. So,
Yeah. It's not all COVID though. It's some of it's just poor planning.
well, sure. But, you know, that not everybody is an excellent planner, and unforeseen things come up.
They do, and hopefully we can work with people who are trying to figure out what their next move is. We can get to them before they don't have a choice, and that's the most heartbreaking part of it. They have to move, and you have to come out of the house. And
Yeah.
equity to support that family member, and we're shoving them out of their house because the finances. That doesn't have anything to do with COVID. It just has to do with how things got set up. But well, geez, on that note, that was a funny story, and then we just went downhill really quick.
Okay, let's lighten it up. You know, Michelle, just some comments on the industry over the decades that I think we've all observed that are interesting to me as far as human nature goes. For example, the things that have accelerated in tastes of homes, okay? The colors, the cabinets, the countertops, the flooring, the furniture, et cetera, it just, I mean, you have gray cabinets and quartz countertops and the new hardwood floors that snap together and blah, blah, blah. Whoop, next year they're tearing it out and putting new stuff in because it ain't hep anymore. It is so weird to me. I mean, if you came into my house, mine is so vanilla. I mean, I got my old oak cabinets, my old oak floors, my granite counters, you know, my aluminum windows, whatever. But it all works. You know, it's not failing, but
Too, right?
human nature, they got to have the latest and greatest. You see a grandma house come up for sale that is in mint condition. The tile is perfect. You know, the linoleum's perfect. The chrome is perfect, but it's old fashioned. Tear it out. People are weird. They just can't live with the stuff that's good. They got to have the latest and greatest. It just is interesting to watch that go by.
You know, I have talked to some buyers over the years. They said, you know, we moved in. It worked. We didn't change a thing. How come? They thought they were going to, or maybe that's what they were being told they should do. Or
well, you know what? The especially on first-time home buyers, we're old guys, but I give this advice all the time. You get a buyer that's young, couple, whatever. They're in escrow. They've already remodeled it up here. You know, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to change that, push this out, blah, blah, blah. And I said, let me give you the best advice I can ever give you. Move in, live with it for a year or two, year and a half, whatever. Then decide really that you want to do those things. Because a lot of people go in day one, they start tearing stuff apart. And then a year later, they go, God, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I didn't think that out very well.
yeah.
So just ease into it first-time home buyer because you'll muck it up if you do.
Well, the other part of that too is how you live in it. You may tear out a wall that you went, oh, that actually did serve a purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course it costs twice as much as you think it does, but oh well. Anyway, that's just a little tiny thing.
Well, I think that's good. I really appreciate you guys coming on and helping me out. And
No problem.
Are you going to apply cat filters to our faces? And
yeah, you have no idea.
Hey, I like your desk, Michelle. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Well, this is the studio. I am hiring this service to come in. I like podcasts. That's where my head's always at. I'm always listening to them. But I've just been listening to so much chatter in real estate, and I understood too that buyers and sellers really wanted to get some information on their own. But I know they get a lot of bad information, so the idea is to help them navigate. So I got really interested in this and interviewing people that I respect and like to talk to and have good advice. I won't be having anybody on here that's full of hot air. Well, I probably have one or two at the end of the year.
Wow, we made the cut, Bill.
Wow, I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good.
Perfect. I actually just wanted to, like I said, I had the stager on. It was a little dry. She wants to re-record it. And then I had my broker on, and good guy, but he just kind of got going a little much, and we didn't get some real content that I think people.
Yeah.
There'll be.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate your time. And I'll have you on again, probably if I can find you at the end of the summer so we can see where our predictions went. That might be kind of interesting.
Yeah,
That's right.
Interesting to see it all go by in the next few months. It's a wild ride.
Yeah.
And we may be looking back at this and saying, those were the good old days.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Yesterday I said, I think it's like every day we wake up to a new market. We used to wake up every couple months or
Right.
evenly, but it seems like every day it just shifts just a little bit.
That's for sure. Wow.
But thank you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Good seeing you, Kurt.
See ya.
Care, buddy.
See ya, Billy. Good time to see your face for a change.
There you go, man. We'll get together.
Hey, thank you for listening. If you want to talk more, find me on livethesantacruzlife.com, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or give me